A principle that has stuck with me comes from a book I read over 20 years ago, the 1-to-1 Field Book by Peppers and Rogers. Here it is. Treat different customers differently. If that doesn't seem too earth-shattering to you, think about what many franchised companies have done to create consistency among their locations. They say, treat everyone the same. And that may seem like a smart business practice, especially if you're trying to deliver identical experiences in order to sell more franchises. But for dealerships, it's a much better approach to customize experiences for individual clients, effectively treating different customers differently. Now, you're going to need a strategy and some tactics to make it happen, though, because it has to be a whole dealership effort. All that is coming up in this segment of the 5-Minute Coach. I'm Jon Quade, the 5-Minute Coach. I'm going to assume you're not sold on the whole treat different customers differently thing, because it took me a little while to come around too. Let's put some teeth in the concept. I'm going to start by asking you to rate all of your customers on a scale from 1 to 5. 5s are simply the most valuable customers you have. And by the way, when I'm talking about client value, I'm speaking of their business value. This process has nothing to do with defining personal value. That's way above my pay grade. That said, the 5s have bought multiple vehicles from you. They pay a good gross. They're easy to deal with. They patronize the service department. They refer others. They are absolutely the best of the best, and you'd like to have as many 5s as possible. All good? Can you think of some of your 5s off the top of your head? Of course you can, because they're awesome. Next are the 4s. The best descriptor for the 4s is they're not quite 5s, at least not yet. A 4 might be a 5 that has only bought one vehicle from you, or they don't bring their cars in for maintenance work. The point is they fall just short of being a 5. And hey, it's your scale. I'll give you some ideas in the downloadable handout, but you can customize the scale however you wish. Then the 3s. Now the 3s can go a couple of different directions, and maybe they're a little difficult to deal with, or they make you fight tooth and nail for profit, or they just aren't any fun. Typically, you know 3s when you see them. 2s. All right, this may be where the term terrible 2s really comes from, not from those angelic 24-month-old toddlers. Our 2s are just barely worth the trouble, frankly. They never say anything positive about us. They expect but don't appreciate personal service, and they often threaten to do business elsewhere. Do you know any 2s? Okay, and finally, the 1s. Everything in the service department has to be goodwill for a 1. They have the OEM regional service rep on speed dial. The only vehicle they ever bought was a $1,000 loser that spent 6 months on the lot, and we ended up having to make it new for them. We can never do enough for a 1. The only thing we can count on from them is complaints. I'm pretty sure you get the idea here. If you asked your sales consultants or service advisors to rank their customers using a scale like this, believe me, they could do it in pretty short order. Now here's the challenge. How do we execute our interactions with the understanding that there are only so many hours in a day, knowing we want to be as profitably efficient as possible? Well, here's my take on it. Your first order of business, number 1, is to keep the 5s at 5. If these are your most valuable customers, then it's high time we started treating them like it. The inherent problem with 5s is, by their nature, they don't complain. So, out of sight, out of mind. And nobody appreciates gratitude more than 5. So start by giving them reasons to never even consider going anywhere else for anything automotive. Tuck them in bed at night if you have to. Surprise them with flowers. Send them a gift card for dinner at a nice restaurant. Buy pizza for their kids' basketball team. Be thoughtful and purposeful, and don't expect a thank you because you are thanking them. The second on your to-do list is to turn the 4s into 5s. Now this may seem obvious, but it's a very important job. What separates 4s and 5s is often a communication gap, so identify if that's the case with them. Contacting 4s with no ulterior business motive, just to say hi and thank them again for their business, is a great way to start that effort. Ask them for process feedback and actually make changes based on what they tell you. The third step may not be quite so obvious, but it's critical. Stop spending so much TME, or time, money, and effort, on the 1s. You know the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and by definition, the 1s are squeaky wheels. Here's an easy question. Do you spend more TME on your 5s or your 1s? That was rhetorical because we both already know the answer. If you need to cut a 1 loose, then do it. Be courteous and professional, but sometimes it just makes sense to let them go. In my experience, I found that they often come back with their tails between their legs when they find out no one else wants to put up with their crap either. We won't call out 2s and 3s specifically, but obviously we want to move them up the scale if possible, and at least start right-sizing the TME we spend on them. Look, I know for most of us this is a completely different way of looking at and treating your clientele. And you're going to need buy-in from upper management too. But it will maximize your efforts with the people who are most important to your business. The only missing instruction here is to make sure everyone who comes in contact with your customers knows how they're rated. So what's their rating scale? And then they treat them accordingly. And you're going to have to instruct your staff specifically what accordingly means. Do we give 4s and 5s an automatic discount on their service bills? Or do we just make it a point to be especially friendly and engaging with them? Role-playing should not be off the table with your employees because you never want to miss an opportunity with a 5. Assuming your DMS connects all departments together, it's a great idea to make evaluation notation in the client profile section, so everyone who accesses the client's data will know how they rank. And over time, you can establish a process for moving customers up or down on the scale based on their activity with the store. If you'd like to know more about customizing the client experience and specifically treating different customers differently, hit me up. I'll be glad to discuss how you can make it happen in your dealership. Okay, let's take a look at our KLPs, or key learning points, for this course. Number 1, rather than treating your customers all the same, strive to treat different customers differently. Number 2, rank all of your customers on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5s being the most valuable business-wise. Number 3, identify your most valuable customers and treat them that way. Number 4, manage the TME, or time, money, and effort you spend with your clients. Number 5, implement a way to inform all frontline employees of client rankings so they may treat them accordingly. All right, that's a lot on your to-do list. Thanks for joining me. I'm Jon Quade.